Welcome to the Untrapped podcast, where we give motivational and inspirational tips about life, small business, wisdom,
health, wealth, finance, relationships.
It's about being the best you that you can possibly be. Hashtag Untrapped. Welcome to the Untrapped podcast. I am your host, Keith Kalfas.
What's up, guys? This is Keith Kalfas with the Untrapped podcast. On the show today, we have Daniel Miraval, who's a certified arborist in Illinois. The guy's an expert. He's amazing. You can see him on my podcast. I'll put videos in the description below. Anyways, he's the guy that I call when I'm having an issue or I have questions about tree work. He's the guy. Listen and tune in, and you will learn a lot, and this will benefit you in your lawn care, your landscaping. If you're an arborist in your business, just listen, man. We're over the phone right now. He's out doing quotes. I'm out doing quotes. And I just gave a customer a quote to trim up some trees, including pruning some spruce trees. And he actually talked the customer and I out of pruning these trees. But can you talk about that and tell the story about the walnut trees?
Yeah, well, going back to the call that you called me about these spruce trees, this is like an urban forestry crime, is how we describe it. So you've got trees that were planted in the wrong space, too close to the property line. Now they're over encroaching onto the neighbor's property, and you have to make these hard choices about how are we going to fix this clearance issue now because the neighbor's not happy. And you don't want the neighbor to touch your trees that are too close to his property because you don't want him stealing them off. So, pruning them like a shrub is not really the right answer. Heavily shearing them, which is what's done at Christmas trees. And when that happens is you just promote all this extensive growth at the end, which makes the tree more dense. And with issues like spruce decline from all the fungal issues we have, especially in the Midwest, especially in Michigan, you don't want to prune the tree like a Christmas tree in regards to the spruce, and then have all this density create all these more fungal problems. Because, that's eventually the tree's going to go in decline, and then you're going to lose it. So you had told me about, or you had asked me about this other job that I was talking about with Casey Hazard. So we had a homeowner call and have some issues with some walnut trees in the middle of her yard. And there were a lot of branches that were breaking out of the tree. She's got kids and they're running around this yard playing, and she's worried about these branches that are breaking. What's going on with the trees and why are they falling apart? Well, they're falling apart because they've never been pruned. All the branches are overextended, so that they're very long and they're hanging. And on top of that, you compound it with a very heavy walnut crop. That's now, all this fruit that's growing on the tree, the walnuts, because we've had such a wet spring. In May, it rained 21 days out of a month of May, at least here in the Chicago region it did. So, you compound that with a bumper crop of walnuts, and you've got all these branches breaking and whatnot. So, meeting with her, the reason she decided to contract with us was because we told her something totally different than what anybody else told her. Everyone else came in and just said, cut the trees down, which to her was completely not an option, or just, whack all these branches off. And that's really not the right thing to do either. You want to maintain the health of the tree, so it's got to be pruned correctly. There's a lot of science that goes into proper tree care, proper pruning techniques. And one thing that we've learned, and I say we, I mean the arborist community, the tree care research as a whole collectively, is that we really want to keep pruning cuts somewhere under 4 inches in diameter. So when you look at this branch and you say, well, the branch is like 8 inches at the trunk and it's just way too long. It's like 15 feet too long and it's drooping down. The first thing you can't think of is, well, let's just take the whole branch out. Now that would be easy. So you charge $350 and it takes you 5 minutes to cut this branch off. That's not good for the tree because the wound is so big that the tree can't properly compartmentalize the decay to expose a lot of heartwood, and then you get, all this rot to the tree. the tree doesn't die tomorrow. The tree doesn't fall apart next year. But, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, the tree fails. Probably at that point because of all the interior hardwood decay that's happened. But, whoever touched the tree is long gone by then. But the impact to the urban forest as a whole, it's expensive because we lost trees we didn't have to lose. So, what do we do that's different than everyone else? Is we started at the end of the branch. Start at the end of the branch and work back toward the tree. Again, keeping in mind, we want to keep pruning cuts as much as possible under 4 inch diameter as possible. And so how can we retrench or bring that branch back? And that's not the same as a heading cut where you just arbitrarily cut the branch anywhere, because that's not good either. That just promotes further sprouting, not permanent sprouting. You don't want that. So you've got to look at the branch architecture and understand tree science to a whole, and that's where professional certifications come into play, or the self-teaching as much as you can through professional organizations like Tree Industry Association, International Society of Arboriculture, or your local Arborist chapter, that's the state chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture. We do a lot of teaching here in Illinois at the Illinois Arborist Association that speaks on a lot of this kind of stuff, so we can have proper tree pruning practices going on. And just because you've done something wrong, you're still doing something wrong. You don't know everything. The big thing is, trying to open your mind to advanced tree care practice. And then from a sales standpoint, you can get more money for the same job. I went right into it with the lady, the homeowner, and I told her, I said, you want to preserve these trees. I've already heard you say that. You want to preserve these trees. I'm looking at the zip code that you live in. The house you're living in, the vehicle you're driving. I'm being situationally aware of all these things, the way she's carrying herself. So I understand that you're a professional, and you understand as a professional you need to maintain your own level of educational standards. Unless you're just independently wealthy, which I doubt. But so I know that there's a good chance that you're going to appreciate and respect my professionalism and my qualifications and my continued advanced studies into things. And this is a process. You start today, and this is a process for the future. These important people need to remember that whatever action you take today leads to the result 2 years down the road. You've got to be in it for the long game. So that's why professional tree care is so important. And you got to think about the long-term impact and being, a proactive steward of the urban environment. Trees are under enormous assault right now, and there's a lot of bad tree care practices that are happening. So everything that's out there, we need to do our best to preserve. Not every tree should be kept. Some are dangerous. Some are overpopulated species. Some are invasive, but the ones that are good trees, we need to do our best to preserve them as much as possible. And one of the best ways to learn how to do that is to self-educate.
Nice. What are some good resources where somebody can see diagrams of how to prune and how to and learn more, or classes they can take? What's the right direction? I would really say go to Ed Gilman. I think it's edgilman.com. He was a professor at Florida State University, and he's just kind of the authority on pruning. You got to understand, people like Dr. Ed Gilman, Dr. Gary Watson, Dr. Jake Russo from the Morton Arboretum, Guy Mayers, those guys have been doing this kind of research-based pruning and tree care for the last 25 years. So there's so much work that's been done, so much documentation on how to prune certain species, the right way to do it, what happens when you do it wrong, what are the long-term impacts, that there's enough information out there now that whatever these guys pretty much say, it's all validated information. So you don't have to go to college to learn this stuff. A lot of them have their own websites, publish papers, that kind of stuff. And when you get involved with professional organizations, it kind of leads you down that path. But, if you want to self-study,
The Illustrated Guide to Pruning by Dr. Ed Gilman. It's a great book, but this is an investment. That book's like $100 or even more than that. I can't remember how much I paid. It's an investment. People are like, you want me to pay $100 and some bucks for a book? Yeah, but it's got pictures in it. Pictures, diagrams, and an explanation of why. So, and it's a better option than going on YouTube and saying, how do I prune a tree? I mean, there's a lot of videos that are out there that are not correct. So you're going to learn something. Learn something from people who have been involved in all this research. And if you're in the state of Illinois, I highly recommend that you go to the Milton Arboretum and you go to the Tree Science Exhibit. This is a phenomenal exhibit where you can see what happens when you don't prune a tree right. I mean, there are trees like out in a field from disease issues that they talk about, like a living science museum outdoors. It's amazing. And you can see what happens when trees aren't pruned right, when they're young, what they turn into, like every step of the game. And then the extensive process you have to go to try to rebuild land structure and architecture, mitigate defects and risks. You can actually see it there. Yeah, very cool stuff.
Nice. I'm looking it up right now. The Illustrated Guide to Pruning by Ed Gilman. There's 2 available, and I'm going to buy it right now.
Okay, yeah. Good stuff.
I got to make sure that...
I only know what I know. I only know what I know just, by checking these guys out. And I know about these people through my professional organizations that I've invested in becoming a member of. Because if you want to learn how to do something, you need to get around people who are something, who are in your industry, who are experts and leaders. You need to be around them, and then you ask them questions. Hey, how can I learn more about this? This is what I do. How can I learn more about this stuff? And then they point you in the right direction.
Bro, and then how can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Daniel M. Miraval. You can find me on Instagram, 2_Latino, the number 4, the letter U. Then you can find my company, Green Extract Technologies, LLC, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I've got YouTube channel, Green Extract Technologies, LLC. Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Try to help out as much as I can. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys. So go to my YouTube channel and type in Daniel Miraval, DANIEL MIRAVAL, Daniel Miraval, or the word Certified Arborist on my YouTube channel. And then videos of him will pop up. If you're interested in becoming a certified arborist or just learning more about this, Daniel Miraval is a wealth of knowledge and information. He will be on my podcast again soon, so look out for him.
Well, one thing I want to say about the certification process, that's not like the end-all, be-all. Just because you sit for the test and you study the material and you're able to pass the test doesn't suddenly mean that you know everything. But what it does is, one, it puts you in an organization where you have a greater propensity to be around people that will take you seriously, so they see that you're taking yourself seriously. And number 2, if you're in the commercial realm, a professional landscaper, commercial landscaper, tree person, at least it's that one more thing that shows potential clients, hey, I've taken these extra steps. You're not showing up saying, I know everything and I'm better than anybody else in this town. But what you're saying is, I'm really actively trying to do a better job, so that when your price is, $150 more than the next guy, you can say, hey, I understand why I'm $150 more and why that guy was cheaper, because he's just going to take off the whole branch. But let me explain to you why doing that's not a good thing to do. And I mean, I do it all day long, and I have no problem. I'm not losing sales because of it. If anything, I'm gaining more, because people say, I've had 5 people out here, and none of them paid me any of it. They just said, cut the tree down. And the majority of people don't want to cut the tree down. They don't like whatever's wrong with it or whatever their issue with it is. So if you can lead with this education approach, consultative approach, people really appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Bro.
That's self-investment. Thank you for what you do. You do a good job of promoting, investing in yourself.
Thank you, sir. Hey, and I took your advice and I bought a Class 3 laser and I have it, and this thing is insane. It's a green laser. You definitely don't want to point it in your eyes, and it shines during the day so you can point at specific branches for customers.
Yep. Now, it's important when you're writing up your quotes, your proposals to people, that you're putting those specs in there. You know, because people are going to forget. So when you're saying, we're going to prune your tree for house clearance through the use of reduction cuts to minimize weight on this overextended branch, yada, yada, yada. You need to use those words to familiarize yourself with the A300 pruning standards so that you can fit all that knowledge. Because trust me, 95% of people that are out there cutting on trees, they're not doing that. They just said, hey, we're going to come.
Wow.
We're trimming your tree. What does that mean, you're trimming your tree?
Bro.
Exactly what are you doing?
Like, I'm learning more about how to properly prune, but not spruce trees. When you talked in the beginning of our conversation here, talked a customer out of letting me prune his trees. I'm not sure of how to actually prune a spruce tree with all those little needles, the proper way to do selective or reductive cuts. So next time we get together, I've just ordered the book at Gilman's Guide to Pruning. And then next time we get together, I want you to show me, and then we'll show everybody on YouTube.
And if you already own a tree care company and you know some of this stuff and you're listening to this and you're trying to figure out, how do I teach my guys how to do this too? Because I can't have everybody up in the tree with me. Very simple what we do in my company. And one of my certified arborists actually came up with this idea himself. If he just cut a branch off, stood it on its end, and said, pretend this is a tree, what would you do to it? Because you can look at an individual branch like a tree, like a baby tree, and hand it to, our certified arborist apprentice that are in the company and say, you want to learn how to tree, you don't ever need to get up off the ground. You can take this branch right here, stand it on its end, and pretend it's a tree. What would you do to this tree, which is actually a branch? And you can learn like that.
Nice. Okay, sir. Well,
all right.
I'll see you very soon. Later, guys.
Absolutely.
I'll see you on the next episode of the Untrapped podcast. Go to keithkalfas.com/podcast or keithkalfas.com. Go to the podcast tab or any of your favorite podcast platforms, and you can get an episode of this show. All right. Later.